We have a storefront now too. Big willpower storefront is not going to be the big all and all either. That's Epic Games founder Tim Sweeney speaking to Gamasutra at DD 2019 earlier this week about how the launch of Epic's new game Stor is going. While the Epic Games Store's debut late last year drew devs' attention and games, in large part, due to the LAN review share rate that sees game makers taking home 88% of their revenues, Sweeney is keen to frame it as just a funny early version of a thing that's going to ultimately be a lot bigger and a lot different. I think the future of game discovery cannot just be about storefronts, he said. It's going to be a lot of mechanisms, citing everything from mobile chat clients, like WeChat or Twitch, streamers as increasingly valuable venues for getting your gaming in front of potential players. All valid, but Epic's Spartan storefront seems to be rapidly filling up with prominent games, and devs could be forgiven for wondering whether Epic's generous rev share rate, compared to the industry standard 70/30, might change in the future once the Epic Games Store has a large enough customer base. This is not like a loss leader type of business for us. 12% is our permanent rate, and it includes plenty of margin for Epic to run a healthy and profitable business. Sweeney told Gamasutra, we could have gone lower, but we also really wanted to build a lasting business that works for us, and we feel a natural reversion to services where they are either free or subsidized, and they are paid for through a tax that is worse than money. It was a less than subtle shot at companies like Google, Apple, and Facebook, all of which offer games and services at low or no cost, but, in Sweeney's eyes, expect too much in return. There's nothing worse for paying for a good in a price that's worse than money, and with Google search or Facebook, that price is your privacy, and in some walled garden storefronts, that price is your rights as a customer. He continued, of course, the Epic Games Store has already got some public criticism for the way it handles user data, most notably the way in which the X launcher pulls Steam friends data from users' machines before they elect to import their Steam friends list into the Epic launcher. Sweeney has already said it was an unintended oversight that will be corrected in an upcoming update, and today he noted that another unintended, albeit fruitful, consequence of the Epic Games Store's practice of giving out free games to registered users. The process of releasing a free game every 2 weeks is safe for one reason, but we are hugely doubling down on it for another reason. Sweeney said, the initial reason was we felt we had to acquire. We had to bring in a lot of users who had not otherwise seen our store, and releasing cool games for free seemed like a good way to do that. So we put tens of millions of dollars towards that initiative. But what we have seen since is that that's been far more successful than ever expected. Sanatic brought in 4.5 million downloads, and it turns out that by paying developers in order for the right to release their game for 2 weeks, we are actually supporting those developers, and we are also building awareness of their games. Sweeney pitches this a big while you add for everyone involved, devs get paid and grow their audience even as Epic does the same. We actually find it more economical to bring users to the Epic Store by giving away free games than by paying Facebook or Google to run ads for their store, he adds, and that's awesome, because that money would just be going into the pockets of a giant corporation, whereas the money we are spending now is going towards developers to make more games. A stream of customers are now pouring into Epic's new storefront as a result of those developers' games, and Sweeney claims the company will continue to regulate the flow of games launching on the store line, to try and ensure each one has a reasonable expectation of getting customers' attention. In the very early days, we are hand-curating all of the games on our storefront, he said. We wanted to make sure that the pace of games coming into the store did not outpace the rate of customers coming into the store. It's been a very deliberate process. In the future, the plan is to open the Epic Games Store up to self-publishing, though Sweeney is quick to note that we are going to apply a reasonably high-quality filter. So we are not going to see asset flips, and we are going to explicitly say no to porn games or other intentionally controversial games. Sweeney continued, we are perfectly fine with unrated experiences like Top of a Crime, but we are not the place for the other stuff, for the bigger anti-social things. That's significantly different from Valve, which broadly takes a hands-off approach to moderating which games are allowed on Steam in favor of giving customers tools to filter what they see. It's also a much clearer stance than Steam's owners tend to take, given that Valve recently managed to both ban a game about sexual violence and also not explicitly condemn it. So what decides whether a game is a good fit for the Epic Games Store? Oh, there will be humans, Sweeney said. We have people working that already. For example, in the Unreal Engine marketplace, we have standards on the existing processes we can apply to moderate the Epic Games Store. Amid all this talk of standards, Sweeney explicitly draws a line between the Unreal Engine side of the business and the storefront side. Unreal Engine is a way of expressing your ideas. Anybody, under our standard license, is free to use Unreal Engine for building anything that's legal, and we have no say over it, he said. We have renounced that ability in our license. But on the other hand, where Epic is making something available to our customers, like in Fortnite, on the Epic Games Store, we are going to apply an Epic quality standard to it. This dovetails a bit too cleanly with Sweeney's vision of a future game industry where storefronts are more competitive and up against more varied ways of distributing games. In that future, a rejection from the Epic Games Store will not hurt a game's prospects, because it will have so many other ways to find an audience. Sweeney thinks that's already the case, given that a PC is now brimming with competing online game storefronts, and he says he's not terribly worried about unduly harming a game that does not make the cut. We are not discriminating against any games based on their speech, because the PC is an open platform, he said. If we do not choose to carry their game, they can release it directly to customers, or sell it through other stores if they choose. And so it's kind of a dichotomy there. On the one hand, we make tools for creative expression that are unconstrained, and on the other hand, we sell products to customers, and we have a responsibility there. This interview is part of our Road to the If series. You can find the rest by clicking here. Return of the Obra Dinn sets the player free on a dead ship heavy with mysteries, asking them to unravel a mass of snarl of events and clues to reveal what happened to this lost crew. Gamasutra spoke with Lucas Pope, solo developer of the Sumasmnoli Grand Prize on Excellence in Everything nominated title, to talk about the challenges that come up with creating such a colossal, interweaving series of mysteries. How to know when you are revealing too much or too little, when you know the whole story, and the mood the developers sought with the game's striking 1-bit art style. I am Lucas Pope, and I created Return of the Obra Dinn as a solo developer. I have been making games for most of my life. Basic type-ins on the T99 for HyperCard distractions on classic Mac, 6,502 ASM games on C6 Quake mods, commercial console titles, and computer games. The project started with me wanting to build a modern 3D game using 1-bit rendering output. I had a few ideas of how to make a game out of it, but most of them were too complicated or difficult for a one-person dev. I basically jumped in on the visuals and sorted out the rest over 4.5 years of development. The game is built in Unity,